transcript. Okay. So if everyone clicks that, and just make sure you can have it open. The first half of the training, I'm just going to run through pretty quick, just kind of the, how the app works and just how the buttons you need to click. And then the second half of the training, if we have time, I'm going to have everyone just kind of submit a demo one, just so everyone can try practicing clicking it, because I feel like you learn a little better when you actually do it, as opposed to just kind of watching me drone on for the first half here. Feel free to interrupt with any quick questions or specific questions that you have, and anything kind of longer, more process oriented, we can save to the end. I'm happy to chat kind of after, just because this is the biggest training group, so I'm going to try to get through it all in 30 minutes here. So I sent you all the link. It's live, it works now, so you all should have access to it. So if you don't, let me know. I'll make sure you have access to it. The first thing I want to show, so I'm going to do everything in demo mode here. And that just means I can't actually mess anything up in kind of the live app, because right now people are using this for, sorry about that. Oh, okay. So, so this is the button for demo mode right now, right? I don't have anything in the live app, but you can see people are actually using this. Here's everything people have submitted so far. Kind of in this admin view, you can see what people have done. You click enter demo mode, which is what we're going to be doing here, right? Here's all kind of my tests. Some of mine came back, which is good. So I've been kind of playing around and testing it here. So first thing you'll do is kind of a submitter, right? You'll go to the app and click this plus button up here to kind of make a new one. And then you'll start working on one. It's automatically, created by me. It'll be your name here. And then you can type in any information you have here. So you can put your phone number, initiator phone number, that'd be my number, vendor name. So it's whatever the vendor is. So I'm going to do a demo, Eddie. I think I have a lot of these. I'll put maybe the date live, make sure and do that. So none of these are required, but you want to fill out as much information as you can, obviously. So I'm going to kind of just skip around here, but write address, code, PO number if you have it, right? Everything like this. I want to call it real quick, the year expense occurred. This is just for like your end of year, right? If you're submitting something for December and it's already January, so it kind of pre-populates the current year date. But if you need to go back, right, you have the option to go back, if you're in January or something going. So that's why that feature is there. Here's all your funding sources. So right now it only supports 2 funding strips. We're going to quickly add the ability to add more funding strips. So right now you're just limited to 2. So you can enter all the information here, and then here's the amount. So I just want to show you that. So kind of, I type it in here, right, for the first funding strip, it auto pulls it down here. And if I do another one right here, right, it like kind of adds it up here. And so the funding sources have to match the invoice amounts, right? So that's why it's yellow right now, because I haven't typed in any invoice details. So we want to make sure those match. So that's why it's like highlighted yellow, just kind of a call out for you. I ran through that first half real quick. Any questions? Feel free to interrupt me. I'll assume silence is golden. Here I'll just put, just example invoices for the purposes of this demo. Example, I can't spell. To get the amounts for, right, this is grayed out. I can't click here. Like I can click here. So it's kind of a calculated field, it's called. So it's quantity of an invoice item and then the unit cost. So that makes sense, right? If you're buying something like physical, right? Like, for example, can't think of anything else, reams of paper, right? So if you have like 20 paper times, right, each ream of paper costs, X amount, and then it'll auto calculate it out. So it works for like physical items. So that might be applicable to what you're doing. And someone asked a good question, right? Sometimes it's weird quantities and like a cost, right? And then you have to pull out a calculator, and it gets kind of weird, right? If you have a quantity of 6 and the total cost is $529, how do you calculate that out? And so we decided, right, if it's something weird, you just do like 1, even if it's not actually 1, to get 1 times the unit cost, get to the amount. And then if you need any more details, you can type it into the box here, right? Does that make sense? Any questions there? For the purpose of this, right, I'll just do like 2, 500 for an example. I tabbed off there, and so like 2 times 500 is 1,000 to match me kind of up to that one. And then we'll just do like a second one, and then like 1 for 500. See, so now we're at 1,500, matching at 1,500. show you how that works. Any questions there, how I got that to match? Does that kind of make sense to everybody? If not, please let me know. I'm happy to explain more. Scrolling down, additional details, right? If you want to enter anything else here, you can. Here's attachments where you can attach kind of the invoice files or anything like this, right? So I have a couple of demo invoices here, right? So I'll just kind of, you can select multiple ones. I attach both of my invoice samples, you know, PDF files, but you can attach anything here. Down here is where you'll kind of, you enter in the approvers. So the first, you know, person to approve is going to be program director or manager. So for the purpose of this demo, I'm going to assign it to myself just to push it all through. And then next step would be finance officer. Also just going to put myself for this. Finance director, it's optional, right? If you need the finance director, you can select them. And then deputy commissioner, and then commissioners, these are only required, right? This little gray text here for anything over 100,000, and then anything over 250,000. So it's grayed out right now. I can't click it because, right, the amount I entered in was just the 1,500. But if you're up above that, it should, it'll, you know, you can actually select it, and then it'll push it all the way forward that you select here. And then if there's any shipping information you want to enter in, you can type it in here. I'm just going to leave it blank for the purpose of this. So now I typed in everything I want to type in. To save it, you have to go back up here and click the save button. Click that. Now it's kind of in the draft status, right? So I can't actually edit anything, and this is kind of what I would submit. Let's say, I forgot to enter like project number here, right? You can click the pencil edit button, and then you can go back, everything becomes editable, and you want to type something in there, you can change it and save it. Let's say you had a question, right? You needed the PO number, you didn't know the vendor code, for example. There's this comment button up in the right corner. Once I hit save, you can do this and say, what is the vendor code, right? It's just kind of typical comment box, and then you can actually tag somebody and it's going to email them, right? So if I want to like tag my boss, Jenny, right? Ask her this question. If I did this, it would actually send her an email. So I think she's on the call, but I'm not going to spam her email box. I'll do it to myself and just show you guys what that looks like, right? So I submit the comment, and then with the tag, it'll actually email the person you tag. And then it'll have a link right into here, and then they could comment in here, or you could take it offline and email, whatever's easier. Let's see if the email came through. Not yet. Sometimes it's a little slow. See if it pops up. All right, so let's say you're done with this, you're happy with it, you can submit it for approval through this button up here. So I'll do that right now. Submit for approval. So mine was this lot. So I have a lot here for the purpose of the demos. They all got deleted, so that's why I thought it looked good. They all popped back, which is good. But so I have a lot, so you can just kind of see, right? If you're working on a couple, right, you can have draft status ones. This is just ones you're working on. Here's one I did, the 522 live, right, pending program approval. And there's like different statuses here you can kind of keep track. You have a lot of EPFs. So now we're waiting for the approval. So whoever you put in for that first approval step, they're going to get an automated email. So I'll go to my email here. You should be able to see that. Can everyone see my screen or no? My email screen. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no.
I was trying to,
No.
I'm only sharing the window. Let me share my whole thing just to show it's nothing too fancy, but this is the wrong screen. Here it is. All right. So here's the email tag. It came a couple of seconds late, right? But here's the comment going back to that. But here's the request. So whoever you tagged is going to get, or whoever you put as the approver in the first step is going to get this email. So a pretty simple thing, but it's like click here to respond to the approval request. So I click the link in the email. So this is going to be, the next person. So it's not always going to be the same person, but I just want to show you all how it works down the chain. So they'll get, it's a Power Automate request kind of. So this might not be applicable to some of you, but it will be to some of you. So all you can see is kind of the title and who's requesting it. The approver, they have to click this link right here. Click it, and it'll take you to the app that we're just looking at, and you can see right here's my everything here, and you can review. You can either say it looks good, you can leave a comment. Right, it's like, hey, you need to update the PO number or something like that, right? Just for if it needed to be. But let's say it looked good. We'll go back to this flow, and down here you click choose a response. You can approve or reject it. You can add comments. It's optional. So I'm going to approve this one for the purposes of this demo. So response recorded successfully. And then another email is going to come back saying it was approved. So here you see my live one. I click the refresh button, and then the status updated to submitted to finance officer. See, so now I have a little check mark. Program approved it. Now it's to the finance officer. So I just got another email saying pending finance officer review. And so the finance officer is going to get this email saying you need to review this. So click the link in the email again. And then this is what the finance officer will see. So they have the actual EPF that you submitted. They can either choose to submit it or return to initiator here if there's an error or if something else is the matter. They can also add comments here, right? Tag people if there's more questions. Or the finance officer also has the option, they can go in and actually edit it themselves with the little pencil button that I did. Right, if there's an address or a small typo, you could go in and easily fix that. I'm not going to add anything, so I hit save. So let's say for this one, it looks good. I'm going to click submit for approval. And then here's my live one. I'll refresh it. Now it says approved, right? So program check mark, finance officer check mark on this last one at the bottom. Then I get an email, final confirmation email saying everything is approved and ready to submit for processing. So let's click this link. Now we're in the next step for, so this might not apply to everybody in the chain, right? But I just want to show everybody kind of, you know, from start to finish what it's going to look like. So now we're ready to kind of to submit it to a clerk.
Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. Sherry, do you have a question?
Yes.
Sorry, I wasn't looking at the hand. No, you're totally good. Thank you for calling that out.
For when I'm submitting, and I thought I heard you say earlier, like what an invoice detail is that, if I need more, need to add more lines, am I able to do that, or how do I do that?
So do you mean like in invoice details here? Or
yeah, because I had an invoice before. I can't remember how I did it, but I did it some kind of way. But I had maybe over 20 lines.
Gotcha. So right now it only supports up to 5 lines.
5
I know we're working to add more, but right now it's kind of the first one we only did 5. But there's definitely a way we're working to add more. But right now it's only 5. So if there's any more, you have to do it the current way.
Yeah, I have figured it out. I'll probably just put supplies and put the money
Good
in.
question, yeah.
I think Sherry, we came up with just put the invoice from and then supplies, because it was office supplies, and then just how much the invoice was. So because we didn't need you to put staplers.
Right.
Yeah. And we
Just
can attach
supplies
the invoice with all the
Yes.
detail. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, and you'll have the access to all the attachments and everything there. But yes, good question. Thanks.
And then Joanne, do you have a question?
I do. Thank you. Actually, I have 2 questions. First question is, would I attach the quote as an attachment along with the EPF? Is that where I would put it?
I think so, yes. And you can attach anything there too. So probably more detail, the better generally. But I'll let if anyone else wants to chime in.
Yeah, I have attached in that section quotes, invoices,
Exhibit
like
slip.
sometimes with like language line, the call log, you know, that type of stuff.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. The second question is, when you have a question because you don't have the information, let's say, for example, a project number, I often don't have a project number for this. So I would direct it to my finance officer to give me the project number, because that's something that I never had I was not privy to that information, nor do I know where to obtain it. So he would fill that in for me. So if I were to tag him to fill that in and he responds to me, would I be expected to put that information in, or would he do it?
It could go either way. So the finance officer will have the ability to add that information in. So I think you'd have to just work it out with that specific finance officer. But either person could enter it in. So the project number was an example I was using. I just picked it randomly because that's where my eyes went to. But whatever the normal process is, they might just add it.
That often is what's missing when I submit an EPF. I don't know the project number of
or
how they determine what that is. So yeah, okay, fine. Thank you.
Yep.
So Joanne, in our experience, the only thing I put on there is where I want it to come from, which grant. She works mostly everything else out. So I'm telling her this needs to come off the G228. And I know my what is it called, cost center, and then everything else is filled out by the finance officer because it goes to them.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's helpful. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, nothing's required to fill out, right? So you can fill out as much or as little information as you have, right? And you can also tag, like, please fill in, the information here, right? You can tag them in here and just have a conversation, all within here, even actually. So however you want to do it, it's kind of a new process. So kind of defining it here, but good questions. Thank you. All right, so I'll get back to this if there's nothing else. I don't see any hands. So now we're ready to kind of send it to clerk is the next status here. So the form kind of changed. Right now, send to clerk is grayed out because there's no clerk assigned. Or if there's an error that you see, we can return to initiator. So right now, if I click the pencil button, go back in here and I can actually assign it to a clerk. And so I just want to show you, and you can mark it as urgent or not. I'll leave it unmarked right here. And I'll leave everything else the same and click save. And now that there's a clerk assigned, I can actually click send to clerk and it'll kind of pull everything together for you and automatically send an email after I click this button with all the information. So I'll click this and show you all kind of what's all pulled up. So you notice this is the one we're working on here, where it says approved. And if I refresh, maybe it'll change. Yep, it says sent to clerk now. And then once the email pops in, I'll show you that. But since I'm also as the clerk, I can show you kind of what the clerk will see here. Right. So now it's here, and then the clerk will have to come in here and click mark as submitted. And the email, I don't want to show you all the email. This isn't the email. So here it is. So says demo EPF approved, submitted for processing, right? So here's the 2 invoice samples that I attached in there that is automatically attached in this email. So it's like sent to me as the initiator, and then the clerk, and then I think the finance officer. I'm all the roles, so that's why I'm copied on this email 3 times, right? But I have a PV number here, and I'll open kind of open in my other window. Right, so here's kind of the EPF, the PDF is automatically generated. It has this PV number, right? Here's my 1500 that I was typing in. Right, I didn't fill out too much other information, but you can see the kind of timestamps, right? Everyone was approved, or if there's any other comments. If something was rejected or whatever, it would show here. Back to the EPF app. Question?
Yeah, so are we able to see this dashboard or this type of information?
Not this. I want to show you what it looks like, but this will be whoever you assign to the clerks will be able to see this, right? So since I assigned myself as the clerk, I can see this. But what you'll see is this sent to clerk, right?
Yeah. So
you'll just see it like this.
We wouldn't see submitted to FMPS or anything like that.
Well, I want to show you, like, if a clerk ever clicks this mark as submitted button, then it's going to, the status will change saying submitted to FMPS, right?
So
So you'll be able to see
we'll
that
see that
on
as
your
well.
process here, but that's the only thing you'll be able to see. But I want to show you like what the clerk's doing kind of in the back end, right? So to speak. That's what this is for. And then the clerk, you know, they can also come in here and they'll say, right, the date, if the invoices are paid differently. So they click this button and they can choose, right, the dates. Can't really do that in the future, right? But then they have the option to type it in there.
Will they do that consistently?
It's a new process. So I was trying to figure that out. I think the next step in the chain is I'm going to train the clerks to do this.
Okay, yeah, because
So
it'd be nice
it's kind
to
of upcoming, yeah.
Yeah, to know when things are paid and to be able to track
Exactly.
that type
Yep.
of information. Yeah.
That's the goal for sure. Right, and then I'll just do mark as paid, just so I can, you know, and then it'll say paid. Right, and then in your dashboard, it'll show you paid.
Right. Joanne, do you have a question?
I do. So I guess I'm a little confused to the role of the clerk and where does that come in if I'm the initiator
Mhm.
and I send the EPF to my finance officer? I don't understand what the role of the clerk is.
Yeah, so the clerk, I believe, is the one, right? They'll like they're the ones that send the money, right? So it's like kind of the next step in the chain. So right, we have to submit it, right? That'll actually, you know, pay the invoices, right? And so the goal is to get them eventually into here also, and then using this, so you know, for our reporting, we can report back to people when it's paid or when things are completed.
Okay, so it's like the final like end of the submission and then the detail of when it was submitted, how it was paid, when it was paid, all of that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep, thank you guys. Let me just check my notes. That's all my training items I want to run through. I know it was a lot. We recorded it. If people have questions, I'm always available. I'm happy to help, right? If you're going through, you're submitting something and something doesn't make sense, feel free to message me, call me, reach out. I'm happy to help kind of walk through this process again as you start using the app. I know the goal right now, right? We're gonna have a little Goldilocks period where we want people to start using this starting June 1st, but you can still use the paper one kind of throughout the month of June. But then the goal, depending on what we find kind of in June, would be July 1st going forward, using this, you know, for the 2 funding strips and 5 invoices exclusively, and stop using the kind of the Excel or paper method, right? And start using the app exclusively.
We
I
like that
love
app.
it.
Yeah, it's a
We
big
love
improvement. I agree. Sharita, remember we had something similar at DFSS?
Yes.
Yeah.
And what I hate when they tell us we do it, Sherry and I have done it, and then our finance officers say, "You need to put it on a paper one." We like,
Oh, that happens to me too.
it's like we get so upset. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Along those lines, like Exhibit Bs and Exhibit As, has that sort of been ironed out? Because I know I had done a couple, maybe Exhibit
Correct.
Bs.
So we're not
Yeah.
using those yet for the app.
Oh,
That's kind
okay.
of on the phase of the roadmap,
Okay.
right? We want to start doing that, but right now it
Okay.
doesn't do ABs or
Okay.
encumbrances. We don't do
Oh,
those.
okay. I see.
But you know, we're updating and want to get those in as soon as possible. So we have 4 minutes. If everyone has some time still, if you click that link, I just want to make sure everyone has access, everything works. Click the link in the chat, and then you should see what I'm showing you on my screen, and then click enter demo mode for me. And then you'll get this yellow one just so we can play around. And I want everyone just to do a quick practice submission. So click the plus button and just do like, just like demo name type or vendor name, type like demo and like your name. I'm doing it on my screen. And you don't need to type, just do that so I can like track it a little easier. And then scroll down to the bottom and just assign it to me, Edwin McDonough, for like the first 2 steps. I just want to make sure everyone can do this, and just it'll show you kind of quickly the process. And if anyone doesn't have access, we can iron out those problems. Everyone do that real quick now while we have 2 minutes. ask any questions if can't find it or it's not working. And then do that, and then click the save button up in the left corner once you assign it to me, and type your name as the demo. Give everyone a minute to do that. And then once you do that, hit the submit for approval button. That'll send me an email. And then I'll like push it through, and then you can see kind of the final email. Or, you know, the emails and the steps saying like it was approved. I'll like kind of approve everyone's, and you can play around with like comments if you want to do that or anything like that. And then I'll have a nice email from everybody saying that you did that. And if you didn't, I'm going to follow up and make sure that it works for you. And then once you do that, you can leave. Thank you for joining, everybody. Or you can stay on and ask another question if you have questions.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Bye, Edwin. Thanks.
Bye, guys. Thank you. Feel free to reach out if something doesn't work in the future.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.